Earlier in the day, I was scrolling through LinkedIn and I saw this really interesting video that I'd like to share with you guys. Well, obviously, I can't share the video with you guys, so I'd like to share the premise of the video. Now, there were two gentlemen in the video, and both of them were selling, I think they're watermelons, or I'm not sure what kind of fruit they are, but they're massive, round, and almost a grayish kind of orange look to them. So they had these two massive tables, and they had these fruit up for sale, and it was in a general, should I say, it was an open market kind of a scenario, and they were both side by side. Now, one of them had his fruit up for sale at 50. He had a bunch, and I think he had them up for sale about 50. Yeah, I think so. And then the gentleman next to him had his for sale at a lower price, I think 40. Now, folks came to the fellow with 40 and bought more of his stuff. And then the fellow who was priced at 50 decided to drop his price. As you know how these things happen. When people compete on price, it's a race to the bottom. So he dropped his price to 30. Yeah, so that's 50, 40, 30. So the other fellow now dropped his price to 30, which was 10 less than the other guy, and then more people started to buy from him. And then the other guy, who now had the higher price of 40, had this brilliant idea. He reached over to his neighbor, they haggled a bit, and then he bought over his whole bought over all his inventory, the whole stock. So he bought the whole thing at 30. And then his neighbor counted the money and was happy. And then this fellow just bundled everything together. And since he was the only one now in that lane selling that particular fruit, he now took the price up from 40 all the way to 60. And of course, he made a killing. And I thought that this was a really interesting idea. Excuse me, an interesting example about how some folks decide to deal with the whole thing of dropping price and being a race to the bottom. I really don't like the price thing. I really don't like building one's business entirely around the idea of manipulating price and trying to drive demand that way. So I thought that was a really interesting thing that the fellow did. Now, unfortunately, those sorts of tactics are not available to those of us in the wedding industry, because we deal with services for the most part. We photographers, wedding planners, videographers, cake people, makeup people, we deal in services. So we can't do those sorts of we can't get into those sorts of tactics and gymnastics in order to make us to improve our business. That's basically buying out our competitors, beefing up the price, and then to make a sale. Now, the main point of why I'm sharing this with you is that the person who shared this thing was actually a business consultant. He looks like a general business consultant who also dabbles in sales and what else? It seems like the fellow deals in quite a lot, and this was one of the tactics that he was sharing for the day. He used the video, and then he used that to basically to share the idea. So the reason why I'm bringing up this video today is not just because it was an interesting way of applying tactics and showing creativity, but was also to stress the idea that when we're looking for sales professionals out there, when we're looking for people to help us on our sales game, we ought to look for people who are systems focused and not tactics focused. Because the video was beautiful, and I have to admit the idea was brilliant. When I started watching the video, I had no idea which way it was going to go, and it was a very creative solution. But there's a limit to how much of this creativity that we can apply in our everyday life if we want to make sustainable businesses that are going to last over the long term. And then plus it will be mentally and should I say spiritually taxing. It's going to be a lot of fatigue if you have to wake up each day, each week, thinking about how you can apply these sorts of tactics and these kinds of smarts to enable you grow your business. So you're better off looking for someone who has a systems mindset, because when you have a systems mindset and you're able to understand it, you're able to adopt it and to teach it to your associates in the business. So let's say you're a wedding planner and all your I'm not sure what they're called, assistant planners, your sub planners or whatever, everybody is on board with the sales methodology and people can adopt it. So let's say you're one of those people like me out there who is looking for a framework that is similar to Hopkins, which is the trust, need, help and hurry. So it's going to be a whole lot simpler to have this general framework in mind. Make sure that all your sales, all your associates and all your partners and everybody is on board with this philosophy, and apply it consistently over time, getting feedback from the process and tweaking the process. I think it's going to be a lot easier to grow your business that way steadily over the long term than looking for creative tips, tricks, hacks. What else? With each business cycle, these things get new names. So I think like 2 years ago, everything had to be a hack. So growth hack, sales hack, business hack, this hack, and I think before that it was tips, 8 tips how to do this, 10 tips how to do that, 2 tips how to do this, the number 1 tip on how to do that. I really think as entertaining as these things are, and even though they may work, I really don't think that that's the best way to build your business sustainably over the long term. And I'm underlying that sustainably over the long term. So yes, if you want to make a killing right now, if you want to scalp some profits right now, then of course it might make sense to learn these tactics so that you can be priced at 50, your neighbor is priced at 40, you buy him out at 40 and then push the price to 80, and then you make a killing today and you're like, yay, good for me, I made some money. Growing your business is not just about scalping your way to profits one trade at a time, but it's about scaling your way to sustainable profits over time. I guess that is what I'm trying to drive at. So these videos, these tips, these tricks, these hacks, these whatever it is that people call them, are really, really, really interesting, and you can try them off every now and then and make a killing here and there. But a scalping mentality is not what is going to make our businesses thrive over the long term. We need to have a scaling mentality, and in order to have a scaling mentality, you first of all need to have a general framework in place for your sales, for your marketing, for your management, for those sorts of things. So basically, I'm just trying to plead with you, my brothers and sisters out there, fellow wedding professionals. Let's not get caught up in the scalping mentality. Scalping is good. It puts some money in the pocket every now and then, especially when you're in a tight bind. But let's think about how we can scale our way to profits. Thank you very much, guys, for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based photographer, Tavishima Ayede. Hit me up on email if you have any questions, comments, queries, suggestions. ayede.taver@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at AYEDETAVER, no space, no dot, no nothing. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. I'll catch you on the next episode.